Today on the show, I am honored to present to you my friend Luisa Crane. Luisa is a mother, doula, community builder, and so much more. This woman is unstoppable. One of her soul's many purposes here on this planet is to serve the mother in all shapes and forms. And one of the many ways she does that is through co-leading the Sacred Wombyn Circles here in Orlando. These magical events are organized and curated with so much intention and so much love, and you could feel it. There's nothing like these circles here. And it was after attending my first circle did I realize I gotta talk to this woman. I move through the full spectrum of emotions in this episode, and I know you will too. Highlights from this episode: how Luisa became a doula, breathwork she teaches, and herbal medicine she uses to allow the womb to open up within birth, the importance of surrender and support within birth and motherhood, how her devotion to the mother brought her to the manifestation of the Sacred Wombyn Circles, and Luisa's dreaming and manifestation process. If you would like to connect with Luisa, you can find all of her information in the show notes, as well as information for the Sacred Wombyn Circles. We mentioned this in the episode, but I truly believe with all my heart this is a conversation that needs to be had among women again and again and again. It's so valuable. It is a paradigm shifter around birth and sisterhood and community. So if you enjoy this episode, if this really hits a powerful note for you, please be sure to share this message with your community. If you would like to support this podcast, make sure to leave me your rating, review, and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And speaking of episodes, if you are one of my regulars, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that we are doing a podcast every other week for my time, my sanity within my master's program. However, I'm leaving to Peru very soon, and I decided I really want to get an episode in about this journey, what I'm about to do, before I hightail it out to the jungle. So we're back on our usual programming for these next few weeks, and then we're going to be taking a break on the show so that I can, be in the jungle and get my shit together. So if you really want to keep up with my journey, if you want to keep up with episodes and what's happening, make sure you are subscribed, and also check out my Instagram. You can find it in the show notes so that you can know what's coming up next for the School of Whispers podcast. You are listening to the School of Whispers podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, and this is my space to get real, open, and weird about my life experiences as a psychic, medium, energy healer, and student of Chinese medicine. On the show, I'll be sharing my healing journey and the concepts I've learned along the way, and I'll be having guests on talking about the same sort of thing. I am so happy you're here, and I hope this show leaves you feeling inspired and empowered to learn how to listen to the whispers of your own body and spirit. Let's get into the show. Welcome to the show, Luisa. Welcome to the show. When we were doing our breath work just now, one thing I was thinking is, I love how I never feel judged by you. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a good one.
I feel the same about you. This morning I was picking up some groceries for the soup, and I was thinking, what is my favorite thing about hanging out with you? I like to ask myself that question, because then I can enjoy it even more when those moments happen, and I feel like you give me full permission to be me. Like, I like that I can dress however I want to dress. I can have my home however it is. And, like, I know you're going to come in and think it's fun and funky and colorful and homey. And I push away people that sometimes I have to filter through.
Same. I feel like I've actually been doing that more than ever. I don't know if it's just an experience. I don't know what it is for sure, but I feel that it's so hard to to put myself in that suit that person or I believe that person needs. And it can be, on the drive over, I'm like, all right, like just kind of going through, overthinking. Maybe that's what it is. I need to not overthink things.
Well, it takes us also out of our heart space. I feel like when you don't have to really think about your mannerisms, your eating, you don't have to me, it's the over-explaining that happens. For me, maybe overthinking too, but the over-explaining, oh, I'm drinking this water because of this, or I'm wearing this because of this, or I bought this, that it's just like,
sorry I didn't because... Yeah, well, we're a good mirror for each other.
It's an energy leak, and I want to use my energy for things that matter to me the most. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me and the listener and opening up your heart and sharing. Well, first, I really want to get into doula, birth, supporting women in birth community. I think one of the first things when we talked at, I forget which event, but I told you it was the Sacred event. I told you that I've always wanted to know what to do, not necessarily step into a full doula role, but to have that wisdom.
Yes.
So with all of that, Luisa, go ahead and give us an introduction of yourself as a doula and sharing how you walked into these shoes.
Yes, thank you. I remember that conversation, and I really became interested into doula work after I gave birth. So I'm a mother of 3 daughters, and when my firstborn was born, I was 23 years old, so I was young, and I didn't know anyone around me that had a natural birth. And so I was scheduled for a hospital birth. When the OB would ask about, if I was up for the epidural, I said, I'm fine with whatever. I truly felt very neutral. I didn't feel scared and I didn't feel excited. And on the way of going to Lamaze class at the hospital, a girlfriend calls me. Her name is Larissa. And I remember the conversation. I remember what I was wearing. I remember my belly. I remember the entire conversation, because in that split second, everything changed for me. She called me and told me she had just had a son and he was born at home, and she told me the whole experience, and I was like, I want it. That's what I want. And that's why I also love that you're creating this space, because you have no idea how one conversation, I might not be here if she had not called me. I could have taken a totally different trajectory and had a completely different birth. In that moment, I signed up for Bradley Method courses, which is a really beautiful birthing course for mom and dad to do together. It's 12 weeks. You gather in a host's home with other partners, and every Wednesday you meet for 3 hours and you learn everything about parenting, about cloth diapering, about breastfeeding, about birthing positions. Mom and dad both have to practice and everything.
This is in Orlando?
They have it all over the nation. It's called the Bradley Method. It's a conscious and wholesome education for mom and dad to do together. And I went through it with my ex, and I ended up having a birthing center birth with my firstborn, totally natural. And it was really beautiful. I had a great midwife. I made the switch.
Was it Tree of Life?
No, I was down in West Palm Beach.
Yes, oh, wait, I've told you that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And that's so funny, because I'm actually thinking about moving back to West Palm.
Oh,
so I'm so glad.
Don't leave us.
I know. But this is mind-blowing right now. I'm sorry. I'll let you continue.
No, it's perfect. Please chat with me. And so I loved my midwife. I loved the support. The girl's dad was amazing. But I lacked feminine presence, because my mom and we have a very sterile relationship. And so she's very safe. She's very responsible. She's always in integrity, but in the restraints of a Christian bubble. And so the idea of having a spiritual, conscious, natural birth seemed very foreign to her, who had C-sections. And so I made the decision to not have her there. So I don't have sisters. I didn't know about doulas at the time. I don't know why my midwife didn't tell me. I don't know. Maybe she did and I missed it. And so I lacked that feminine energy. I was like, but nobody was there showing me that empathy, that compassion that I've seen in videos. And my birth felt a little lonely, to be honest. And so I Googled who helps moms during birth when I was breastfeeding my firstborn, and a thing about doulas popped up. And it happened to be a training that was happening in West Palm Beach 3 weeks from then. I clicked, I signed up. I'm very impulsive in that way. It's like if I feel the yes, I lean in. I sometimes fail forward, but
That's me too.
Yeah.
I did tell myself, like, it's one of the hardest things I have to do is sleep on it.
Yeah.
A few
Oh,
nights.
that's hard for me. That's really hard for me. I'll get the jittery fingers.
Really, the jittery?
I'll be like, I want to go, I want to do it. So I signed up, I took the course, and I decided that I was going to gift of my services and just gain a lot of experience. I was a new mom myself. And so I would just go to all the hospital classes. I would Google and pretend I was pregnant. I would call and be like, when is your Lamaze class? Tuesday at 8? Okay, thanks. Call the other hospital. When's your Lamaze class? Monday at 10? Okay, I'm there. And at the end, I would ask the teacher, is it okay if I just give a little thing and just say I'm gifting? I'm not asking for anything. And I started getting all kinds of volunteer births. Teen moms, older moms, twin moms, C-section moms, low income, super rich, all different types of births, home births, like, and I started stepping into these spaces because it was free. So the more experience I gained, the more I started realizing that I was really just created to be a doula.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that story. I picture you making a schedule on the phone and writing it down, and so when you would go to the Lamaze classes, you would just like make a connection with someone and say, so
the Lamaze teachers would let me stand in the back and like give a little spiel, because they're like, well, if you're giving it for free, I'm sure some mom, especially the teen moms, you'd be surprised how many teen moms were in the room. And it's just the world that we don't really think about, that there's teen moms showing up at the hospital. The moms have shunned them. And now they're showing up to these Lamaze classes hoping to learn something. It's free for the hospital that they're birthing in.
And so you were there offering them a lifeline. Mm-hmm. And I see around your house anchors in your bathroom, that the anchor quote. Mm-hmm. And today it hit me a little extra today. And so you're offering to be their anchor. And like, who wouldn't say yes to that? Especially with someone who can hold eye contact, you know, I feel like that's definitely that's a red flag. I feel like if someone's trying to have an experience with me and doesn't really want to, hold me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And holding my gaze.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then, so you eventually moved to Orlando?
Yep. So fast forward, I went through a separation, became a single mom. I went through aromatherapy school, and I really dove into essential oils and started bringing a lot of aromatherapy to births, and started learning a whole layer of how essential oils are so powerful for the birthing mom and how they can open so much.
Do you mind sharing a couple of details?
Sure. So like one oil, ylang ylang, if you've ever heard of ylang ylang, it's a floral from Madagascar. It's that big, beautiful yellow flower, like the leaves look like bananas almost hanging down. It's a very sexy, very vibrant flower. Well, that flower specifically, if you apply it to the groin for a laboring mom, let's say she's already at 7 or 8 centimeters and she stalls out, it's often emotional. She isn't ready yet to become a mother, whether it's trauma from her own mother, whether it's she has her own fears. Her body is ready, but energetically she has a block, and we can see that. The more that you do birth work, you can look at a mom and see, okay, this is physical, it's a big baby, or she's in a poor position, but sometimes you see that everything should be as it is, and we're going to talk about manifestation, and that is also manifestation. Sometimes everyone's doing all the right actions. There's no energy actually coming through. And we see that, and so we get to sit down and say, tell me, why don't you want to birth your baby right now? Really tell me.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then you see that they just need a little support, and ylang ylang, it opens. It's that flower that blooms, and the fragrance that comes from it is divine, and it actually looks like the yoni in the center. So when you apply the ylang ylang to like the inner thighs, then you can take the hands and just cup for mom a little bit and allow her to take like nice 10 really beautiful horse breaths. I know you like breath work, so we have breath work, prenatal breath work, and one that's really beautiful for like 7 to 8 is the horse one. The deep inhale, and then and it opens the yoni. You can feel it. Try it with me. You're gonna feel it in your pelvic floor. Like, okay. Take a deep inhale.
I really need to release my pelvic floor. We'll talk about that.
Perfect. So place your hands on your knees, and let's just pretend we have that big heavy belly. Let's pretend now your womb is full of life, baby boy or maybe a baby girl, and it just feels so heavy, and you need that deep release right through your pelvis. So we're going to take a deep inhale.
You have no choice.
You have no choice. It's a full root chakra, sacral release through the bottom. And you feel your legs opening, like you feel everything in there grounding. And it also changes their focus. Most mothers are dealing through the sensations. I don't call them pain or contractions. I like to call them birthing sensations. We can reframe it. They're waves that ride us to our baby. You know, there's lots of different ways to see the contractions, and it also takes your mind off of it.
Yeah. That's, I wonder if I could use that. I think about when I'm cramping and I feel like I'm giving birth to blood clots, to give you guys a visual there. I feel like that would help me too.
Definitely.
And it also gets my mind onto, there's this herb, white peony flower. And so when you were talking about the ylang ylang, rubbing it here, like that's the liver channel. And it's called Bai Xiaoya, or white peony. It's known for going directly to the liver channel to spread blood and spread qi.
Wow.
And to relax, especially like relax that mixed with licorice, it relaxes your muscles.
Wow.
So I always, whenever I learn about that pair, I'm always like, and please just embody.
Yeah, right?
Embody the two.
Yum. That sounds like it would smell delicious too.
I wonder. That's something I wish my school had, a combination of music, because we're learning about it through a computer, and it's a lot. So I'm like, memorize. And I can't wait to slow down and like use essential oils and tinctures and combine things.
Yeah, oils are super powerful. A lot of birth is emotional. If you grow up seeing a lot of scary things on TV, hearing a lot of scary stories, oh, I almost died when I birthed you. Oh, your animals died when she birthed your cousin. Oh, it's the worst experience of your life. Like, I hated your birth. Like, these stories that are being reverberated and told are so unfortunate, because if you emotionally look forward to your birth, you're going to have a pleasurable, pleasant birth. You're going to feel the intensity, but just like running a marathon, taking an ice plunge, you feel the intensity, but you receive intense blessings on the other side. So it's worth it. And essential oils, because our nose is our strongest sense of our five senses, olfactory is directly connected to our mood center, which energetically is our trauma center. You breathe in the oils, it opens up the olfactory, it releases things in the mood center, and now you birth comfortably, because it was never really about the pain. It never is really about the pain.
Pain in the mind. I'm going to be cliche and say pain is in the mind.
Yes.
All right. So now that you are, how many years into this?
I'm 12 years now.
Wow. Well, I would love to learn about, what do you find to be common, I guess, with, just because it's relevant to me, I'm going to be selfish, for first mothers, in terms of walking them, like reassuring them, or do you feel like it's different for every person? Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
I feel like it's definitely different for every person, because it depends on their relationship. What type of partnership do they even have to start with? How much support are they getting there? That for me is like, I notice how much more difficult a pregnancy or labor is based on the partnership, even to begin with. That is like so foundational. And then also, if they're having a home birth, if they're having a hospital birth, if they have sisterly support, who's their midwife. So there's so many variables that there isn't really a one path for first time moms, I would say.
Right.
There's so many variables.
A friend of mine, she's a new mom, and she's kind of shared with me how community is something she's really missing, and that makes me think about where you're at with building a community. That's where you've led yourself. Has this been your vision the whole time?
I don't think the whole time it's been the vision, but I think devotion to the mother has always been the vision. The first time that I experienced a birth, I felt so physically exhausted while simultaneously feeling my soul dancing for the first time. And the awareness of the physical body fatigue, but the soul being lit on fire was like wow, I definitely was created to be a doula and to serve the mother. And although being a mom hasn't always allowed me to be a present doula, I find myself always seeking opportunities to serve moms. And community has been a really natural way for me to do that right now, because why not gather all the moms and create support at once versus trying to do it one-on-one, which doesn't allow in my schedule.
And as it goes is most women, they have more babies. So
Yeah.
like it's my good karma that I've found. I realized that this is a thing. I mean, my first period was very isolating. And when I shared at your first event, the first event I went to, that it was so strange. Like a part of my mind is in it and feeling all the emotions, and then that other part that observes is like, you've never known that this exists. You've never done anything like this. This is a first moment here. And so personally, I'm really glad I found you and this, and it's just making me more excited for the future. It'll definitely be the future, but of being a mom and also having daughters and sons, but daughters who have something like this as well.
Yeah, definitely, because my daughter's getting something so different. Like she's never heard me say, "Oh, I just got my period," or "Oh, my body hates my period." Like the conscious conversation. She comes and lies in my bed and is like, "I just got my moon," and she sees my moon tracking bracelet, and like that in itself, those little things that seem so little are gonna lead to not having to unlearn literally everything we learned about our moon cycles and about our connection to womb. So,
and that's really the way they learn the most, is through your example. Before we really get into Sacred Wombyn, I really want to talk a little bit more about a few questions I have about you being a doula and witnessing birth. One is, can I hold space with you?
yes.
But something that I love about being at your events, plant medicine, a place where somebody can completely let go, is what that's like for you, witnessing that moment. And I know that for some people it's so hard to open up. So I'm curious what it looks like if somebody refuses to open up within a birth, and kind of go between those two pathways here.
Okay. So remind me of the first question.
First
part.
So what it looks like when you see a woman open up and embrace the beauty, the light of it, and also like the dark whole death essence of it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. For me, it is the absolutely most empowering thing. It's a moment that even if you tried to hold back, you can't, because you are surrendering your body fully for another soul to come here. It's something that almost doesn't have words. It's a portal for life itself. So it's like in that moment, if you were to ask mom, it's you or the baby, that mom wouldn't even think twice. She would surrender everything for that life. And it's really the only moment we get to witness that. And that bravery in her eyes, that aliveness that is like, I'm surrendering myself fully. It's a love that's so intense. And then the love magnifies when the baby comes into her arms. Like, who wouldn't want to watch that? Who wouldn't want to watch a woman fully surrender, possibly for the first time in her life, with no shame? Because you can't. That baby coming through you takes over, and even if you want to hold your voice back, even if you want to hold your energy back, even if you wanted to hold your love back, there are no restraints. If I could say, Stephanie, show me your love with no restraints, no hurdles, you could try your best.
Is that something you share with them? Is that something you coach them with in birth? Because if someone told me that, I'd be like, let's fucking go.
For sure. We have a lot of coaching that happens before, which is personally why don't ever not get a doula. And I don't say that because I'm a doula. I say that because I had 2 doulas that totally transformed my births. They were powerful women that guided me in a way that I needed to be guided. So even that is a surrender. Even that is a surrender. So but then you also see it on the other side when it's often in a hospital setting or, again, a partnership setting. I've seen the husband's fears where mom starts, getting very vocal towards the end, where the husband can't stand seeing her in pain. There's something that when you're in birth, you have to be okay with pain. Even though I don't like using that word, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with watching someone screaming of pain and saying, that's right, breathe through that one. Oh, that was a good one. That means your baby's getting closer. Good work. Oh, that hurt real bad. Amazing. Lean in. Where everyone else around is like, put a towel on her. Tell her to take the drugs. No, no, no. And you have to say, stand back. I'm advocating for her. She wants a natural birth. She doesn't need your interference. And she's going to lean in and come out on the other end just fine. Step back. Doula works a lot of advocating for the mother because we're not used to sitting through our pain. We're not used to sitting through discomfort. And the moment it happens, everyone wants to shut down the pain. But it's through the pain that the baby comes. That's the only way.
That gave me a lot of visceral feelings within my body and visuals of what the two spaces would look like. And it made me think, because I've done ayahuasca with Mana, and in my first ceremony, I had vocal moments, but very restrained compared to my bufo and now me, who I know I really am moments. And I know that you know what? I like it. I like being vocal and letting it all go, and then like being seen and being like, yes, let's go. Yeah, every woman, well, I guess however you prefer it, but that's the way I deserve.
Yeah. It connects us to a lineage of our ancestors. We talk so much about honoring our ancestors, but the number one way you can honor your ancestor as a woman is to surrender your body to be the portal to give your baby a conscious arrival. And there's a lot of misunderstandings of what it means to connect to our ancestors. Our ancestors don't act like we act. Yet in every ceremony and conversations and on our oracle cards and on our Instagram posts, it's all about loving our ancestors. But our ancestors were willing to sit through death itself so that these babies had a gentle arrival. These souls deserve a gentle arrival. They're being abused in hospitals and in certain settings. And it's no wonder that there's so many hurt children. But for me, it's like, let's save them at day one, minute one, hour one. Let's protect them then. Why are we trying to protect them at 10 when we could have protected them at day one? It
makes me think of this quote of this song I love, and it's how many people had to survive so you could arrive. So everyone hug your mama tight and get her a glass of water, ask her if she needs anything.
Yeah, right. It is.
It's goddesses. Whew. Wow, I got emotional listening to all of that. Is there anything before we do transition? Is there anything else you feel like you like to share that feels called to come up for you about birth, doula work?
I feel if someone is considering definitely a more conscious, wholesome birth, I know that there's a lot of fears. There's a lot of stories that have been shared about birth, and I would encourage you to open and expand your mind to what else is possible, because there's a community of women that are rising, that are birthing our babies very consciously, and we're seeing very conscious children. I look at my children and I'm like, I know that you are the way you are because you came following natural law. Nobody forced you here. Nobody tugged you here. Nobody injected you here. You said, I'm arriving now, and my mom is going to support that. And therefore, my children are sovereign because they chose their day for arriving on this earth. We're earth lovers. Our souls could have gone anywhere. And the day we arrive is important. The day we arrive is important. And I just wish that it was seen as the ceremony that it is. I recently watched a birth, and she was full in her power, 23 years old, first-time mom. She fought the entire 9 hours for a natural birth, and when she was done, she was glowing. Literally, the hospital room looked like a light bulb, and it was coming from her radiant face. And she looked at me and she said, we did it. That is worth it. And she got up hours later and walked to the bathroom. No straps, no injections, no nothing. Like, her baby is sovereign. He followed natural law. The moment we start following natural law, this earth heals, and it starts with birth. It starts with birth.
I want to, okay, I'm going to stay with birth here because it made me think of, have you heard of this theory? And I don't know what it's called. And honestly, I've only heard it talked about twice. So yeah. I might butcher it, but I'm going to share what the birth theory is. So there's this phase. Okay, wait, I got to take a moment because I got to pee.
Okay. I was going to bring you.
Okay, so there's this theory, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's like a birth theory, and it's based off of your birth and the different phases, and what occurs within those phases is how you face adversity in your life. So the first phase is, it's when the contractions begin, and when a mother has, we'll just let that happen, and so the baby's perfect world. So on the mother's side, it's like, oh, let's get ready. On the baby's side, it's you have this perfect world, and then all of a sudden you feel a shift in your environment, and then you start to feel like your space getting smaller and then relaxing. So you're kind of like, interesting, but you're still safe and wonderful. And then the water breaks, and then all of a sudden everything you've ever known is gone, and that's terrifying for any human. And so when it's time for the mother to get into birthing mode, push, ride those contractions, those waves. If mother has, and there's no shame, however you choose your birth. I really believe that the most I've heard this before and I love it. The most safe birth is the birth that the mother chooses. And there's for so many reasons, but I'm going to just get back into this theory, is if a woman is numbed out and can't help the baby and ride those waves and let the body lift and then plunge down, lift and plunge, that the baby all of a sudden is alone in this fight.
Wow.
And then, but say when that doesn't happen, so then it's like the portal time. And so the baby's world is now, it's all darkness. It's all compression. And so the baby's realizing, I need to fight to live. And it's at this point where mama's saying, we're fighting, we're going. And ideally, there's no going back from here. And so it's almost like the baby catches on to that, because at that point, I guess baby's just, this is Stephanie coming in here, but baby's speaking hormones and pheromones.
Wow.
And then birth, all of a sudden there's a light, and you're like, I can do this. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and then you're born.
Yeah, I love that.
And so it has to do with a really healthy, that's like a healthy adversity mechanism and coping skills. Whereas some of us, there's an intervention. Some of us are waiting for that intervention. Sometimes it never comes.
Also, what makes me feel too is like the epidural numbs everything, so the numbing doesn't allow even an awareness that the waves are even happening. So then when you're being birthed, because it's going to happen, you have to come out. No one is pregnant forever. You're like, I'm so unprepared. I feel like that's a lot of humanity, unprepared. Like the blessing comes and they just don't have the skills, the awareness, the foundation to even handle the miracles they called in the first place.
Yeah. There's so much more to say. I'm going to stop myself with that mic drop. I feel like I need to take a deep breath. So two words that I really took with me were blooming and opening. And so, and that is a means to manifestation. And that's in a lot of ways in the way you've talked to me and how I'm witnessing you, a lot of manifestation is blooming and opening. And with Sacred Wombyn Circle, I would love for you to, on that river of a tangent there, share about what this other side of you that creates community in such an intentional way.
Yeah, well, one, I think I'm a social butterfly and I don't like to be alone. So I'm like, well, if I create dope experiences, but no, I honestly have learned a lot over the years to enjoy being alone. Feels good. But yeah, there's a side of me that really loves to create community because I've always had a certainty that I have a purpose and a role in being of devotion to the mother, being almost like a paid best friend or an invisible mom for people because there is such a void. Things that maybe just reflections that people have said back, like, oh, I feel safe in your energy, or I feel at home in your energy, or I feel like you have motherly energy. And those are things that I also feel within myself. And when I look around, there's so many women needing that exactly. And so why not create circles that allow us all to be that for each other? I feel like you've come to some of our circles. I'm sure you've experienced like a lot of love and embrace and connection, and we deserve that. We deserve that. And it's really what got me through my divorce, going to breastfeeding circles and going to cloth diapering circles and going to other natural minded mom circles. What I didn't know then is that is always the answer, is community. Because when you isolate, it's when you don't have accountability, when you don't have healthy reflections. It's like the stuff in the back of our fridge that doesn't get attention that dies. But when you bring it to the light and share it with others, there's so much strength and healing there.
I'm glad you said that, because I've been wondering for a while just about the definition of community. I hear so many people, and I'm realizing, oh, like everyone has a different definition of community and what that really means to them. Yeah. So I like that aligns with how I was defining mine. Yeah. And I like the fridge reference.
I heard that actually from some pediatrician back in the day when he was saying, now don't forget to spoil babies. It's the stuff in the back of the fridge that goes bad. Spoiled babies are okay, because there's so much. You don't pick up the baby too much. It's like, no, pick up your baby as much as you freaking want. Spoil the baby.
That's another thing I agree on. Okay, so outcomes. So it's been 7 months of Sacred Wombyn.
Our first was August 17th. So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Okay, 9 months. So we just hit 9 months. It's a pregnancy.
Yeah.
About to birth the baby.
And
throat chakra.
I would love for you to share more, into the conception and birth and the growing this thing. One thing that you said, evolution. You said the word evolution, community, within the, about 30 seconds at least, or at most, of each other. And I was like, oh, that's Luisa. Community and evolution. Like, you are somebody, and I really like this. I love this when I hear you talk about business, but yourself, it's like evolution. We're going forward. We're going up. No looking back.
No looking back. No. Going through some of the personal things I went through, divorce specifically, when you really have to learn to lean on yourself and others, it's like the first opportunity to ask for help. You realize that everyone is also seeking help. And if you offer something that truly is helping, then you have to push full. It's a responsibility to me. It's like a responsibility. I feel responsible. If I was given these tools and I overcame these hurdles and I have true solutions, whether it be financially, energetically, emotionally, then I have a due diligence to my community to manifest my wisdom. Isn't that what elders do? So it's like, I love the big gatherings. I love big energy. I always have. I've been a social person, and so why not create that for women, so.
It's like, it makes all the sense in the world, but for so many of us, we have every reason not to. Did you experience that in the dreaming phase of it? That's another thing we were talking about earlier. Is like, I love your dreaminess. So let's talk about the dream of Sacred Wombyn.
The Sacred Wombyn. So the chakra concept was actually my co-creator, Crystal. She had the idea to heal through chakras. And once she said the word chakras, I'm a very dreamy person. I like to sit and close my eyes, especially in nature, and start to, if I wanted to go to the most amazing root chakra gathering with my sisters, what would we be doing? It's a question I ask myself a lot, because I know if I'm going to be enjoying myself, most likely my sisters will too. And just started drawing things on the board. And sometimes I would push towards a certain way. And if I got resistance, I would be like, I don't think that's the path. I didn't force anything with Sacred Wombyn. It's one of the first projects that I didn't force anything. I really was in full surrender that if I asked someone, would you like to be a part of it? And the energies didn't mesh, or the timeline didn't, or energies didn't match, I was like, perfect. Thank you for awareness. Next. All the emotional stuff that comes with a lot of planning, especially in the feminine space, I released for the first time ever.
Nice. And that's what remedies that having every reason not to.
Yeah.
What do you think in hindsight, what kind of prepared you to gain that mindset?
For me, I learned a lot through pain. I feel like I wasted a lot of years being on the other side of that spectrum.
Okay.
Dwelling in a lot of emotion, dwelling in unforgiveness, pointing the finger. But if my sister had been better to me, if she hadn't done this to me, if she had communicated more with me. And it's like at the end of the day, we all are exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing with exactly who we're with. Everybody's a teacher, good or bad. If they taught you something you don't want to do, or they taught you something you want to do more of, and it's more of fuck yeses with that person. So for me, it's like I just realized, I'm like, man, I'm 39. I could have realistically started years ago, and why haven't? And I look back, and it was a lot of emotional baggage that I held onto for way too long. Way too long. In relationships specifically, women have such messy relationships. And I look back, and I was triggered a lot, and I also triggered a lot of women. And I feel like I released that story before starting Sacred Wombyn once and for all.
It makes me think of that phrase where when we love someone, it's such a fine line between love and betrayal, which turns into hatred. But it's almost like when you see yourself in someone, especially other women, we all see ourselves in each other in some way or another, whether we're aware or not. It's like when you see yourself in someone and then you feel that rejection or whatever that negative experience was, it's like, I'm done. I can't with them anymore. But really I can't see that within myself anymore. Yeah. And I definitely at your events, I felt that confronting moment happening again of like, is it going to go this way? Is it going to go that way? Am I going to feel rejected, or am I going to be embraced? And I've always been accepted and embraced. That's just the vibe. It's almost like, do that or get out.
That's right. That's right.
So it's definitely been healing for me. Has it been healing for you, and as the birther of the co-birther in this? For
sure. Every chakra that we've gone through, we've had to work through on our own. Like, we've had to definitely recognize, like, I remember especially the solar chakra, like stepping into our power. Both of us had moments where we didn't feel at all empowered while we were planning it. We had to sit, and I can reflect back and see the dots, like connect the chakras, connect the dots, where we had to. It's almost like universe, spirit, source said, oh, you're going to speak to 100 women on throat chakra? How's your throat chakra looking? I'm going to send some tests here to see if you're actually worthy. And I feel like those initiations have made us worthy. Therefore, it has been a pure container. And I have a lot of sister wounds, female wounds, some from my own and some from others. And being in this container and intentionally practicing the muscle of only loving all the women around me, I've gained so much trust and confidence in the feminine again. When I see so many women practicing pure love, like you look around, you see everybody's like loving each other, hugging each other, connecting.
All like high off of it.
It's like fairies. It's like a fairy party.
Yes.
How can you think that there's something wrong with the feminine? How can you not forgive? How can you not choose to release all those judgments and barriers?
And to feel proud that they are them, I am them. We are like, we're in this together, and their strength is my strength as well. And she can help complete where I have gaps. Yeah. And we're set to, whether it's through the adults around us growing up, the media, whatever, that it's competition.
Yeah.
And I really, actually, in my own hindsight, I think at that time when I started going to your events, I was really that I found Mind's Eye, I was really tired of feeling other and like I have to compete and judging myself and holding myself back because my fear of judgment or me judging others. And like, I really think it has, working with you has really helped me in that. So thank you. Love.
My gosh. We hear that a lot. Like you've shown us that all the women can actually come together.
Yeah, hell yeah. I did have a stream of a question from that point, but I have to find it again. Okay, yes. Okay. So when you do your big events, I'm very curious. Do you have what happens for me if I'm in a new setting and it's a new number of people? Unless it's an hour yoga class, I'll black out for a little bit. Afterward, I'm like, what happened? And it's that rise of, oh, here we go. And I like it. It's my roller coaster. It's my skydiving. But I definitely want to hear about what that's been like for you. Because
before or after?
Just before, during, after. Do you prepare?
Yeah, definitely. We have to have a preparation process. It's a lot of energy. I don't think that, well, unless you've held the same space, but the thing is, so many wombs are open right towards you. It's like our energy centers, our power centers. So there's times that I go in there and I get a head rush when I'm standing in the middle. And it's because there's like over 200 eyes, everyone, all eyes. And it's a process, especially because I'm a Pisces, which I'm naturally shy. I'm a naturally shy person. I have stepped into this space, but if you know me, my most intimate space, I'm usually the quiet one in the corner, drinking a tea, sitting back. I like to have the Aquarius view, like a more of a bird's eye. I don't need to be in the middle. And so I have to stage myself, ground myself. I often journal to myself. We obviously prepare the space. And it's just, for me, it's a knowing. I've already been here. So I was sharing with you earlier, like, these are visualizations from years ago, maybe a year ago. And so that really gives me a lot of confidence. I'm like, you already did this, girl. What are you scared about? You already saw what happens. And that knowing is really beautiful for me.
Yeah. I would love to know a little bit more about your dream to manifestation process, because, yeah, I mean, you're doing it.
So definitely when I wake up every single morning, this is a ritual that I won't ever skip out on, is the first 30 minutes. I wake up and I intentionally stay in my bed. We're kind of in that dreamland where our body is kind of in between realms. And I visualize whatever I feel like in that day. I might visualize getting a Kangen sale where I literally visualize my phone ringing, it buzzing, them texting me saying I'm ready, them giving me my credit card, me sitting at the laptop like, I don't skip a detail. Like, so my brain is very programmed. Or if there's a circle coming up, or if I have an event coming up, or if I want to have a specific type of day with my kids and I just even want more peace, we don't use our own energy to help us. Like, I sometimes just visualize a very peaceful day with my children, and I visualize it to the T, and then I journal and I'll write down the main things that are going to happen in that day, as if I got to, like, it's at nighttime, but I do it in the morning. So it's,
I was thinking, I bet Luisa journals a lot.
Yeah, I do. I write a lot of stuff down because it's really beautiful to come back and see that it happened exactly as you wrote it down. And I write it as if it's in the past, honestly. Today at 10 a.m. this happened, and I'm so grateful that at 2 p.m. happened, but it's at 6 in the morning. And it's like the universe already knows what you're looking for. And once you write down your schedule and expect that to happen, it's pretty impossible for it not to.
Yeah, wow, you saying this. And why, yeah, like, why not? It's something that I've been feeling the call for, and you saying it, this is an external call to really pick up a disciplined journaling practice so that it can become my non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And that's your conception. Mm-hmm. So we got the dreaming, you got the dreaming down check, the conception check, and then the birth. So, well, something you shared with me, but I think it is of value to share. I'm not sure actually if you shared it. Now everything's starting to weave together, but I love what you said is that you flow with it. Maybe you mentioned this a little bit, but yeah, how your flow within your birth. Mm. And I love that talking about this, it definitely ties back to what we were talking about earlier. Mm. Yeah, please share about your birth of events, the events that you do.
Yeah, so Well, there's so much you could share about the birth of the events, but
talking about the experience for you, because we're talking about manifestation. You gave 2 really clear actionable steps, and I love that. So I'd love for you to talk about the experience of birthing your dreams.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding super cheesy, but that's what you're doing.
Yeah, it feels sometimes so humbling, because I often look around too and see that my reality as a single mom is not also the reality of a lot of single moms, but it is that I do a lot of the inner work that isn't seen, that seems so mundane or so simple, but it's the work that really brings our dreams to life. And I mean, birthing it all is really just to me, honestly, the birthing portion is just showing up every single day for it, like aligning all, as much as my actions as my energy towards it. But the birthing is almost like an aftermath of all the pre-work, to be honest.
Right.
So it's just like there's no other, it's the same as literally birthing a baby. Like once you've gotten pregnant, once you've carried the baby for all those months, once your body activated the labor, you can't be pregnant forever. It's inevitable. It's going to happen because you've done the work to make it happen. So I don't know. The birthing for me is, I don't know if I'm answering the question.
That was beautifully.
Okay,
I don't know if I'm answering. That was definitely beautifully put.
Okay.
I know. I'm like making it a little bit tough with my my weaving discussions.
You're perfect.
Yeah, thank you. That was beautifully put, and it makes me think about what it feels like when you hold back. I know that when I got the call to do the podcast and it was just like a thought, and then I did ayahuasca, and it was like you're if you don't do this, you're gonna feel the repercussions of holding back, of giving birth. And it definitely was. You're so right with the podcast. Now it's like it's living, it's growing, but the building and planning, I think it took me about a year to really actually have the guts to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, I feel like it's such a natural thing for you now. And that's the thing. Like once you start, you're now just going through the motions. It's all the work before, the pre-labor that's really, and the laboring that's the hardest. Yeah. And it feels good. It feels good when the universe also surprises you, because yes, our imagination is powerful, but I love that the universe always keeps some surprises. And everything that I've ever birthed has been so alike to my visualizations, to my journaling, but also there's always an element of surprise and like that cherry on top that I wasn't expecting, that just humbles you and reminds you that you are constantly taken care of. And not only are you capable of birthing those dreams, not only is it worth fighting to birth those dreams, but there's going to be a little added extra that's just going to make you be like, wow, that was really a wink from heaven just because I showed up. Thank you. Like I was counting on 10 and I got 12. Wow. Thank you.
And that's a choice to see it that way, and to do it, and to have that mindset that's going to bring you to you, like to this. And it's really inspiring. And I, in my head, I'm thinking, where's the limit? Sky's the limit. So speaking on that, I would love for you to, if you feel comfortable, to dream a little bit. Where do you see Sacred Wombyn going?
I mean, we're definitely filling arenas. That's like a done deal. I see like a big arena of women from all over, translators, so that different languages and just different cultures are brought into one space. I definitely see international retreats. We have one coming up at the end of the year. So I definitely want to take women on deeper experiences. We can only go so deep, I feel like, here in the US. There's something about being in another place that really connects you to that inner warrior woman. So that's definitely something that I would love to do. And honestly, I would love to travel with Sacred Women. We hear a lot, oh my God, I live in LA. I wish we had this. Or I'm in Austin, Texas. Like, I wish we could attend, but it'd be really dope to take a few sisters that would maybe like want to get a van. And like, do you want to go to Sacred Women tour and just like bring like some fun to other cities and just live out of a van together and just take sisterhood on an even deeper level. Like the deeper we go, the deeper our circles will go. And I'm here to go really deep with the sisters that God's put around me. And I definitely would love to bring Sacred Women to other spaces. I would love to have a Sacred Woman podcast. I always feel like it would be so dope the day after an event to gather the women for like a yummy brunch, like 4 or 5 women, and then just have a roundtable discussion. What did this chakra mean to you? And where did you see, your blocks, or where did you feel like this chakra was really easy and effortless for you and amazing? You've been doing the work,
That's brilliant. That's like an integration podcast because these circles really are like people go deep.
Yeah.
And
the heart chakra, like, I'm so bummed that I didn't have that structure in place. Like, you guys were talking to yourselves as a little girl, and like my perspective was the most beautiful healing experience I've ever watched. Like 101 women holding a little picture of themselves that they're between 3 and 10, looking themselves in the eyes and sharing words that they crave to hear their whole life. It's like there was a lot of integration there that probably needed to be had. But also me and Crystal being moms, it's like,
yeah,
I'm calling in more community for women that maybe somebody would want to take that on, or maybe so it's like, I also recognize that as we grow, the team is going to grow, and I'm excited for the women that organically and natural are going to pop up and say, what if we did this let's do a camping, let's do, and like the spider web grows.
I love that. All right. We're calling out to the next.
Calling you. Must be able to make cool sounds.
Yes.
Primal sounds.
All right. So I realized I didn't prepare you for my last closing questions. So here we go. First, and actually I have a feeling I know your answer, but also we'll let it flow. But I would love to know, what is a food that you have found to be very healing? Because for me, food therapy is how I'm Stephanie today. So I'd love to know, where on your healing journey, what stands out for you here?
Okay. I'm not going to be able to pick a specific food like a avocado type of thing, but I will say something that I've switched over a lot, which I know you're going to appreciate so much, is eating more hot foods. So when I first became vegan, I really thought that the raw and cold and all of that was what I needed to do. And I realized that I completely inflamed my body in the worst of ways. Like my skin especially told me that. So now I really, really appreciate starting my day with warm food and making sure majority of my plate is warm. Specifically soups. My gosh, like I know how to make hundreds of soups now, and before I couldn't make any soups. Like I wasn't a soup girl. I'm like, that seems so not nourishing to make a soup. Like I want more solid food. So I would say soups.
You're the second woman to have soup as a listed heal. And it's so funny because she said when she first started eating soup, she was like, it's one of my favorite things I've heard someone say, what is this bland shit? But,
my soups are not bland.
Yeah, they're good. They got zing to them.
Absolutely. My Sag moon would not let you go hungry with a bland meal.
Amen. And then you can share this to whatever depth you're comfortable with. But my last question is, what is a darkness that you have either recently found yourself within or on the other side of that you feel called to share a little bit about?
Okay, that's a great question. I like that one. I would say uncoupling. I recently have gone through an uncoupling. And it started last year, so it's been like a year process because we have a lot of connection together and we're still very good friends, which I think makes it almost harder. But it comes back to what we said in the beginning, the over communication. I believe if you over communicate and actually say what you mean during an uncoupling, I have found possible that you can continue loving at the same capacity with different titles, which is something I've never been able to do and has always been the greatest source of loss and grief in my life. When I've gone through a breakup, it takes me so long to recover simply because I don't know how to communicate. And in this uncoupling, although there still are feelings there, like not feelings for the partnership, but working through feelings of the uncoupling, the ability to be able to say like, hey, I really miss you today. Today's a really hard day. And I did this, and that made me think of you. Not asking for anything more or less, but just an opportunity to share what I'm actually feeling. And then also being able to receive that feedback. Maybe you're not even thinking of the person, but they call you and say, wow, today was a really hard day. I saw this and this and this, and it made me think of you all day. And I'm just going through a moment. I want you to be aware and send me some energy. And moments like that you're like, it really is possible to have lavish forgiveness and grace and compassion, to not have so many broken relationships. So I'm going through that. I would say still the sometimes feelings of loss, feelings of codependency, feelings of loneliness, lacking partnership in the home for cooking a meal or getting cozy on the couch, or an empty bed. I would say empty bed is a hard one for me.
And having to maintain those clear boundaries with yourself about, like, when you said very clearly, and I noticed that you're very clear about your language. I don't know if that's like a Luisa or a mom thing, or a conscious mom rather, because I think, especially as parents, we have to be really aware of our language. But hearing you say that, clarifying there are feelings around working through it rather than feelings for being back in that relationship.
Absolutely. Our language is everything. Words are everything. And it's those little micro shifts that you see your life evolve. Even saying grand rising, like mourning, it's like a mourning thing, it's a death thing. And I started saying that a few years ago, and I used to literally feel dead in the morning. And now I feel energized by making such a micro shift in just my vocabulary. So yes, words, big thing here in my house, big thing. I'm tired, I'm lazy, those type of things. I don't like it.
What do you say? What do you have to say? Or what do y'all say instead?
Like yesterday, my daughter's like, I'm so tired. I'm like, how about my body needs some extra rest today?
Ooh. Actionable step. Good mama.
I'm trying.
Oh, Luisa, thank you. This was epic. I felt the full spectrum of emotions.
Me too.
Is there any last parting word you feel called? And then I would love for you to also share where people can find you.
My gosh, I feel like I gave a lot of words, so I'm going to just let it all marinate, settle. I do really appreciate this space. I genuinely was excited to be here because you make me feel at home as well. You make me feel super comfortable. Permission has been a big word for me lately, and you give me so much permission to share fully and not feel the need to restrain or filter, and that's really magical for me. And you can find me on IG at Luisa Crane 23, LuisaCrane 23. And you can also find Sacred Wombyn at Sacred Wombyn, which is SACREDWOMB, like a womb, YN, womb, YN.
Love it. I love that so much. And that will also all be in the show notes. All right. Well, thank you all so much for investing your time and your energy to listen to us. Just go down, paint this picture. Wow, what a tapestry you made here.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
I will be feeling you, the listener. I'll be feeling your energy next week.